Hello, I'm Marcy Bridges with the Office of Special Education and Early Learning. Welcome to Session 4 of the Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, series of videos for teachers. The previous videos of this series provide an overview of UDL as a whole, an overview of the engagement principle of UDL, and a deeper dive into Guideline 1, Recruiting Interest. These videos can be accessed on KDE's Instructional Resources webpage by using the QR code. To review, UDL is a way to present information in multiple formats and with high interest options, allowing students to demonstrate their knowledge in a method of choice. UDL includes three main principles: engagement, representation, and action and expression. Engagement, which focuses on the why of learning, stresses the importance of interest and identities, covered in our last video, sustaining effort and persistence, spotlighted today, and emotional capacity, which will be highlighted next time. Now that the learners are engaged, how do they stay that way? How can teachers sustain a high level of interest for students, especially when faced with challenges? Today's presentation will discuss ways teachers can help learners overcome challenges and keep them focused when they feel overwhelmed, frustrated, or bored. Sustaining effort and persistence has 5 main considerations: clarify meaning and purpose of goals, optimize challenge and support, foster collaboration, interdependence, and collective learning, foster belonging and community, and offer action-oriented feedback. Learners differ considerably in capacity for self-regulation, inner motivation, external interference, and acceptance of collaboration and community. Using strategies of UDL, students with disabilities can learn to regulate their attention, to sustain the effort and concentration required for these skills. Over the course of any sustained project or systematic practice, there are many sources of interest and engagement that compete for attention and effort. Some learners need support to remember the initial goal, or to maintain a consistent vision of the rewards of reaching that goal. For those learners, it's important to build in periodic or persistent reminders of both the goal and its value, helping to sustain effort and concentration in the face of distractions. Teachers can help students by using and encouraging prompts to explicitly formulate or restate goals. Multiple ways to display goals. Dividing long-term goals into short-term objectives. The use of handheld or computer-based scheduling tools. Visual scaffolds to show desired outcomes. And engagement of the learners in discussions of what constitutes excellence, and generating relevant examples that connect to cultural background and interests. To keep strong engagement throughout the entirety of learning, targets and goals should be relevant, important, interesting, and useful to the learner. The UDL framework is grounded in a belief in the brilliance of every learner and the importance of setting high expectations. The design of the learning environment must not only support access, but support participation and progress toward challenging learning goals as well. All learners need to be challenged, but not always in the same way. It's important for the learning environment to embed a variety of tools, resources, and supports to promote successful engagement with the learning goal, and to ensure learners find challenges that are optimally motivating. Balancing the resources available to meet the challenge is vital, as productive struggle is a key component of an engaging and rigorous learning experience. Resume competence and nurture a belief in the capabilities of every learner. Offer options with varying modes of complexity or difficulty. Offer options for tools and scaffolds that align with the learning goal and promote agency. Emphasize process, effort, and progress in meeting standards as alternatives to external evaluation and competition. Collaboration, communication, and contribution are essential competencies of the Kentucky Department of Education's Portrait of a Learner, or POL. These skills are needed for all students to thrive, both inside and outside the classroom. Many students struggle with these skills, and teachers must be explicit in their instruction of how to appropriately collaborate and communicate with others, making contribution possible for all students. One effective way to do this is through peer mentoring, teamwork, and cooperative groups. Collectively generating knowledge and learning from one another's diversity of ideas, perspectives, and lived experiences is central to the learning process. Creating communities, teams, and partnerships that can push and extend each other's thinking and practice, care for one another, is an important and powerful way to sustain effort and persistence. Connected to these notions of collaboration and collective learning is the idea of interdependence, a reminder that we are all connected. Our decisions and actions impact others, and learners can support one another. The disability community reminds us of the value of interdependence as opposed to an overemphasis on independence. We can work to support each other to ensure needs are met within the learning environment and more broadly. To help learners build and utilize these important skills, teachers can create cooperative groups. Cooperative learning groups that have a clear goal, have clear roles, clear expectations, and responsibilities. You can use prompts that guide learners in when and how to ask for help. Use prompts or protocols that guide learners to surface and share differing perspectives. Teachers can also encourage and support opportunities for peer interaction and supports, such as peer tutors. Construct communities of learners engaged in common interests or activities, or those who identify in similar ways. And encourage questions to more fully understand concepts, ideas, and perspectives. Humans need to feel a sense of legitimate belonging in their community. To thrive as learners, students need support to feel connected to their classroom and their school. It is a critical design element to learning environments where learners feel a legitimate sense of belonging and community. Fostering connection is especially important for learners who have been historically excluded or marginalized. Further, it is important to remember the sources and meanings of belonging and community, and that those will vary across learners and contexts. Designing learning environments where there are multiple ways to develop relationships, to practice caring for one another, and strengthen connections to learners' multiple and intersecting identities is essential. Action-oriented feedback guides learners toward mastery through effort, rather than a predetermined thought about performance or compliance. Emphasizing the role of effort rather than what some see as intelligence or ability can guide learners towards successful long-term habits and learning practices. Action-oriented feedback offers specific comments on ways to make progress and take action toward the learning goal. These distinctions may be particularly important for learners whose disabilities have been interpreted by either themselves or others as permanently constraining and fixed. If students see their ability as fixed, They are less likely to persist through the challenges, and they may give up. Feedback should encourage perseverance, focusing on the development of efficacy and self-awareness. It should encourage the use of specific supports and strategies in the face of a challenge. And it should emphasize effort, improvement, and achieving a standard rather than on relative performance. Feedback should also be frequent, timely, and specific. It should be informative rather than comparative or competitive. And it should model how to incorporate reflection and encourage risk-taking, allowing for growth and future success. To show an example of sustaining effort and persistence, let's watch this video of a lesson on perimeter. After watching, we will discuss some ways in which the teacher uses strategies of UDL during the lesson. Please remember, even though this lesson is set in a middle school classroom, the strategies provided can be used in any classroom. When I look at our classroom, there are lots of rectangles. The board is a rectangle. The map is a rectangle. Our number line. We have rectangles all around us, okay? You smart mathematicians, you guys are so good at this. So even our posters are rectangles. A rectangle is an irregular polygon because the sides are not equal length. So as you guys said, the opposite sides, 2 of them are short, 2 of them are longer, right? To calculate the perimeter of a polygon, we have to know the length of the sides. So let's look at some examples on your tablets. Go ahead and look at number 1 on your tablets, and I'll show it up here as well. So your choice, you can look on your tablets or you can look up here at my visual, okay? So here's number 1. Look at the brown rectangle.
Yeah, I'm going to look at your picture. My tablet needs to be charged.
Oh, I get it. Yep, I understand. So in order to, because we know the attributes already, we can make some assumptions. So remember, assumptions are things that we can guess because we have knowledge about it, okay? So you told me that the 2 opposite sides have to be equal, right? So if we look at our brown diagram, what could we do to label all 4 of the sides?
Well, could we just say that like the short side is same as the other short side and the long side is the same as the other long side?
Yeah, Jayla, that's perfect. That's exactly what we need to do. So we know that this side is labeled 4 feet. So then this side can be labeled 4 feet. And the same with the top and bottom, right? The bottom is labeled 9 feet, sorry guys, 9 feet. So the top can be labeled 9 feet because we know they have to be equal even though they're opposite, okay?
Yeah, okay.
So now let's look at the blue one. So in our case, do you remember what the principal needs us to do?
Yeah, the principal needs us to help with the garden.
Yeah, Mina, exactly. So let's pretend our blue one is the garden outside the window. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we needed to measure the garden, we don't have to walk all the way around our perimeter, right? As long as we know one of the short sides, you're right, Will, and one of the long sides, we can figure out the rest, can't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do it using math.
Exactly. Yep. So how could we find the perimeter if we know all of our numbers? How can we find the perimeter of our rectangle?
We have to do addition where you add them up.
Good, Emily. Do we add up Only the two that we see? Nope, you're right. We have to do all four sides, don't we, Emily?
Yep, you have to do all four sides, and it helps if you write it down because you might forget that there's two sides that have the 5 feet, and the same with the long sides, because I made that mistake before.
You're right. So I'm going to do that on my visual, and you all can do that on your tablets if you want to, so that, like Emily said, it helps us remember. Okay. So now we're going to talk about a shortcut. Another math operation that we can do, not addition, but what is kind of our helper when it comes to long addition?
Um, um,
I think we can use multiplication somehow.
You're right, Mina. We can. We can use multiplication. Yep.
I think you have to do like 2 times something.
Mm-hmm. You're exactly right. So I'm going to write this down on my paper so you all can see it. So 2 parentheses L plus W parentheses. So here's what it looks like, and I'll explain it, okay? So this is length plus the width. So you add the length plus the width, and then you have to double it. That's why the 2 is on the outside. We actually get to do,
that 2 and the parentheses is multiply.
That's right. And we get to do it last. Yeah. So first we would add them, and then we would multiply by 2, just like you said. Yeah. So we can add the known length plus the known width and then multiply by 2. Okay. That gives us perimeter.
Yeah.
So here's another equation for us. You know, math, we love those equations. So perimeter is, remember, equals means is. So perimeter is 2 times the length plus the width. That is our formula for perimeter. In the video, the teacher gained the students' attention by pointing out several rectangles in the classroom. The teacher showed the visual, allowing the students to choose if they wanted to look on their tablets or up at the visual. The teacher also praised the students several times, showing that the effort is more important than the performance. The teacher showed a real-world connection and providing the why. This was made by reminding the students of the project they are doing for the principal. In the next video of the series, the focus will be on Guideline 9, Emotional Capacity. This allows teachers to provide options for optimizing motivation, to facilitate coping skills by developing an awareness of self and others, to promote self-assessment and reflection, and to cultivate empathy and restorative practices. For additional information, please see the resources available here. For any questions, please contact me, Marcy Bridges. I can be reached at 502-564-4970, extension 4143, or by email at marcy.bridges@education.ky.gov. Thank you for watching this presentation on UDL, Sustaining Effort and Persistence,